Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Guru Vrinda ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Avagyantimirandasya girandana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yana tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda all together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mutai Mahat Prema Paravibur Nirmaya Kshatya Damusha Bhunta Gunan Sadasa Sadasalmakam Yalang Krishna Bhagavan Machamsime. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we continue reading the fourth canto, chapter 24 of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, chanting this song sung by Lord Shiva, text 76. Ya imam shradaya yukta. Ya imam shradaya yukta. Mad gitam bhagavat tavam. Mat Gitam Bhagavat Stavam Adhyana Duraradyam Adhyana Duraradyam Harim Sadaya Harim Aradhayataso Harim Aradhayataso Ya imam sadaya yukto Mat Gitam Bhagavat Stavam Atyana Duraratyam Harim Aradhayataso. Haribol. Ya imam sadaya yukto Mad Gitam Bhagavat Stavam Adhyana Duraradyam Harim Aradhayatyaso. Ya imam sadaya yukta Mad Gitam Bhagavat Stavam Adhyana Duraradyam Adhyana. So, ladies, please. Ya imam sadaya yukta Mad Gitam Bhagavat Stavam Adhyana Duraradyam Harim Aradhayatyaso. Am sadaya yukta Mad Gitam Bhagavat Stavam Adhyana Duraradyam Harim Aradhayatyaso. Mam sadaya yukta Madgitam Bhagavatavam Yadiyano Duraradhyam Yaha, anyone, Imam, this, Shradaya, with great faith, Yuktaha, devotionally attached, Madgitam, the song composed by me, or song about me, or song by me. Bhagavatavam, a prayer offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atiyana, by regular study. Duraradyam, very difficult to worship. Harim, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aradhyati, he can, however, worship him. Also, such a person. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worshipping Him are very difficult, if one vibrates or simply reads this stotra, prayer, composed and sung by me, he will very easily be able to invoke the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. It is especially significant that Lord Shiva is a pure devotee of Lord Vasudeva. Vaishnavanam yada shambhu. Amongst all Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the topmost. Consequently, Lord Shiva has a sampradaya, a Vaishnava disciplic succession called the Rudra Sampradaya. At the present moment, those who belong to the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya or Vaishnavas come from Rudra. Lord Shiva come from Rudra, Lord Shiva. To become a devotee of Lord Krishna Vasudeva is very, very difficult. The word especially used in this connection is Duraradhyam. The worship of the demigods is not very difficult, but becoming a devotee of Lord Vasudeva Krishna is not so easy. However, if one adheres to the principles and follows in the footsteps of the high authorities, as advised by Lord Shiva, one can easily become a devotee of Lord Vasudeva. This is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj. Devotional service cannot be practiced by a mental speculator. Devotional service is a special attainment which can be acquired only by a person who has surrendered unto a pure devotee. As confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj, Mahiyasam padarajo bhishekam nishkinchananam Navrinitayavat, unless one accepts the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is free from all material contamination, one cannot enter into the devotional service of the Lord. Ya imam shradaya yukto mat gitam bhagavat stavam adiyano duraradyam dharim aradayatya. So, although rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worshipping Him are very difficult, if one vibrates or simply reads this stotra prayer, composed and sung by me, he will very easily be able to invoke the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a special blessing given by Lord Shiva, and it's explained, he's blessing everyone who is reading this stotra, this prayer, that even though it is very difficult to surrender unto Krishna, but by the mercy of Lord Shiva, it can become very easy. Actually, we're all depending on the mercy of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a very important personality in this world, because Lord Shiva is in charge of which element? False ego, yes. And so we can only get rid of false ego by the mercy of Lord Shiva, because He is in charge of it. How many of you would like to get rid of false ego? Okay. So that's why we need mercy of Lord Shiva. And how do we get His mercy? There are so many people who are worshipping Lord Shiva, but what do they want from Him? Yeah, they want material sense gratification, right? And for Lord Shiva it's not a problem. He provides them with their sense gratification just to get rid of them. Bad association, okay, take whatever you like and just get lost. So they cannot really get the mercy of Lord Shiva, because they are very materially motivated, these worshippers. Even though they are directly associating with a pure devotee of the Lord. There was one instance with Srila Prabhupada when he was giving darshan in Mayapur to the devotees, and he was sitting at the veranda. And anyone who's been to Mayapur knows that it is very famous for plenty of mosquitoes. Right? How many of you have been to Mayapur? Okay, most of you. So everyone remembers mosquitoes. And so Prabhupada was sitting and answering devotees' questions, and one devotee asked, Srila Prabhupada, is it true that those who are closest to you, they are getting most of your mercy? And at that time, mosquito landed on Prabhupada's hand. Prabhupada looked at the mosquito and he said, at the moment this guy is the closest to me, but I will not give him my mercy. So he chased the mosquito away. So that was, and Prabhupada was so expert about this, right? Using the circumstances for preaching, connecting everything with the essence of Krishna consciousness. And so he explained by this, it's not about being close or far, it's about motivation. And so if someone is materially motivated, like the mosquito, right? What was mosquito's motivation? Was he trying to get the mercy of pure devotee to become Krishna conscious? No, he just wanted to suck blood, right? Srila Prabhupada's blood. And so, unfortunately, this world is full of bloodsuckers. Those who want to come to the exalted personality for material benefits. And so, there are many of such devotees of Lord Shiva. But there are very, very few who understand what is the real benefit Lord Shiva can give. This is what this particular chapter is explaining, that the greatest benefit Lord Shiva can give is to share His Krishna consciousness with us, right? And this is what he is doing to Prachetas, and luckily it has been recorded, and we can also benefit from that. So this is how we can get the mercy of Lord Shiva, by chanting this stotra and by meditating on what Lord Shiva is explaining. Because without the mercy of Lord Shiva, no one can get rid of false ego, and without becoming free from false ego, no one can enter into the kingdom of God. So, we understand there is material world and there is a spiritual world. And there is an area in between the two, which is called Brahmajyoti. Brahmajyoti is like a neutral territory. Normally, it's a standard that between the two countries, where the border is, there is a neutral territory. And it doesn't even matter whether it is land or water. There are also, in the sea or ocean, there are neutral waters, which belong to both countries, but do not really belong to either. So at least they left something for God, right? They haven't divided everything between themselves. They recognize, okay, at least a few strips of land or water still belong to God. No one should claim. Actually, ideally, no one should claim any proprietorship over anything, right? Ishavasim idam sarvam. They should recognize that everything is God's property. And so, Brahmajyoti is such a neutral territory between material and spiritual world. And who is the master of that neutral territory? Who is the bodyguard? I mean, not the bodyguard, but border guard. Who is the border guard there? Lord Shiva, yes. He is guarding. And Kailash, this is where Kailash is situated, in Brahmajyoti. And so Lord Shiva is there. So basically speaking, he is immigration officer. So if you want to go to the spiritual world, you have to get his approval stamp. Then you can go. Otherwise not. Otherwise you have to stay. And Srila Jiva Goswami is describing very interesting case in his Sandarbhas, that there are some living entities who by their austerity and knowledge and renunciation actually attained certain level of spiritual perfection and became liberated, and they achieved Brahmajyoti. And it's very interesting that in Brahmajyoti there is also an area which is closer to the material world, but there is an area which is very close to the spiritual world. And actually those jivas who are situated in Brahmajyoti, very close to the spiritual world, they can actually see the Lord and His pastimes. And naturally they become very attracted. But unfortunately, because their consciousness is still not pure, as Bhagavatam describes, even though they are liberated, but still an impurity is there. And what is the impurity? It is desire to become one with Krishna. And so they meditate, Soham, 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 I am Him, I am Him, I am Him, right? And so then they go to the spiritual world. But Lord Shiva is there with his trident. And when they try to illegally enter into the spiritual world, he takes his trident and then he strikes them with his trident. And his blow is so mighty that all these jivas, they go into the spiritual world and they fly through all 8,400,000 species down to the very bottom. Just imagine what kind of power Lord Shiva has. And they enter into the stone. Stone, actually some stones are also alive. Because the symptom of life is growth. And certain stones, of course, most of the stones are dead. But there are lively stones. And these are actually gemstones. Because gemstones, they grow. Very slowly, but still they grow. Why? Because they have jiva inside. And who is the jiva? That's impersonalist, who is sitting there. And, this jiva is perfect. Doesn't have any contamination of the ordinary jiva. The only contamination of that jiva was that he wanted to merge with the Supreme Lord. And because that's very high consciousness, high level jiva sitting there, that's why the gemstones become so attractive. So if anyone wears those gemstones, you're actually wearing those impersonalists on you. Which is still all right. They're not materialists. But yeah, this is the example which helps us to understand that without Lord Shiva's blessings, we can never enter into the spiritual world. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that it is the same for all the pure devotees, which is very interesting. He's quoting here the words of Prahlad Maharaj, unless one accepts the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is free from all material contamination, one cannot enter into the devotional service of the Lord. So because you accept mercy from any pure devotee, and it's going to be the same. It's very interesting. Like Srila Prabhupada says, pure devotee is Guru, naturally, right? Because he represents the Lord. And Guru is one. How Guru can be one if we have so many Gurus, right? But he explains that Guru is one because every Guru is passing the same message. And he says it's the same way like doctor is the same, because every doctor is following the same medical science, right? Or you take any profession. Like I spoke with one devotee yesterday, and he's a chartered accountant. And he moved from India to Australia, and then he was working as chartered accountant there, he's working as chartered accountant here. And because I know that sometimes it's quite hard to confirm the qualification when you move from one country to the other, because standards are different. But he said, for chartered accountancy, they have global standards, and it's very easy to confirm those standards. Because, it's based on calculation and mathematics. It's all the same all over the world. 2 plus 2, right? Equals to 4. Whether it is Australia, US, India, or even Russia. Even in Russia, 2 plus 2 still equals to 4. There is one Russian joke that, because country is almost as corrupt as India, they joke that certain laws are followed in Russia very strictly, historically. No one broke one category of laws. And these are the laws of physics. So even in Russia they follow those laws strictly. And so we can understand. And what are the laws of physics? These are the laws of Krishna, right? Because Krishna created the laws of physics. And so the laws of God no one can break. And so, and this is Dharma. Dharma, Srila Prabhupada explains, means divine laws, laws of God. It's not. It has nothing to do with religion. Sometimes the word Dharma is translated as religion. But religion is something which is man-made, right? Certain rituals, certain whatever, understanding, tradition. But Sanatana Dharma has nothing to do with religions. Sanatana Dharma refers to the eternal laws of the Supreme Lord, and these laws are the same. Like Prabhupada was saying, what Bhagavad Gita has to do with the religions. Like Dehinosmin Yata Dehe, that the soul is passing from one body to the other, from young body to from body of a child to the young body to the middle-aged body, and then to the elderly man's body, and then to the next body at the time of death. So what that has to do with religion? Does it mean that if you don't believe in God, you don't go through those changes? You don't die, you don't take birth. So these are standard. You don't grow old. Probably if that would happen, everyone would become atheist, right? No, but it's the same. These laws are the same for everyone. And so pure devotee is the one who helps us to understand what are the laws of God and how to follow them. And of course, there are only two options in terms of the laws. One is to follow the laws, and the other one is to break the laws, right? You either follow or break the laws. And so if you follow the laws, you get the benefit. If you break the laws, you get in trouble. And so the main laws, the most important laws for us, are the laws of God. And so the better we follow the laws of God, the more benefit we gain. And that's why we were discussing, that came few verses before, where Bhakta Prabhu was giving class on text 74, 2 verses before the one we are reading today. A devotee of Lord Krishna, whose mind is always absorbed in him, who with great attention and reverence chants the stotra prayer, will achieve the greatest perfection of life without delay. So, and yesterday we were also mentioned that because devotees are following the laws of God, they're worshipping Krishna, they're serving Krishna, there are many benefits, right? Devotees gaining. And we kind of recommended this very powerful exercise, which is called Count Your Blessings. That just think of what has changed for you for better since the time you've started chanting Hare Krishna, right? And if you think about it, it's like so many things, right? You gained so many good things, starting with devotee association, wonderful prasadam, wonderful life for singing and dancing, and wonderful knowledge, purpose of life, and you name it, like unlimited. And got rid of so many troubles, like bad association, etc., etc., etc. And bad habits also, right? And so it's very interesting to see that when devotees do this exercise, the longer the devotee practices, the longer is the list. I did that list for myself, and I came to 108 points, 108 blessings I've gained since I started chanting Hare Krishna. And then I realized that this is not exhaustive list. I can still carry on, but I kind of like the number. So I stopped at 108. And so yes, we're gaining so much because we follow Dharma, right? We follow Krishna's laws. And it's such a nice life of Krishna consciousness, and therefore we want everyone to live this kind of life, right? We want everyone to be happy in Krishna consciousness. But there is a danger, and actually Lord Shiva is explaining that it's not very easy to become Krishna conscious, right? And what is the difficulty? Like, we have this book by Shrutakirti Prabhu, right? Prabhupada used to ask, what is the difficulty? And we know there are difficulties, right? And I wanted you to help me with giving certain points which are the difficulties which prevent us from becoming Krishna conscious. What are the difficulties? No difficulties? Yes. Bad association. Yeah. Why bad association? We have devotee association.
Previous impressions?
Yes. Material desires, right? Okay. Any other difficulties? Huh? Mind. Okay, yes. Materialistic mind. Same material desires, right? If you sum up all the difficulties, it will come to that, right? Material desires. So material desires stand in the way. And, of course, now is the question how to get rid of material desires. Because material desires is something which makes us very anxious and very disturbed in mind. Even though there are no reasons to be anxious or disturbed, right? You have very nice prasadam, you are singing, you are dancing, you are in the company of the best people on earth, and Krishna is looking after you. What else do you want? Right? But then the mind says, no, I want more, I want other things, right? I want to go and poison myself, for example. Right? This is what intoxicants means. Let me go and poison myself. Why do you want to poison yourself? Are you crazy? But this is what everybody does, of course, because there's so many people, and this world is actually meant for crazy people. Yeah. Prabhupada says it's a big mental asylum, this whole material world. And some people are trying to, go through the treatment. That's called Bhakti. Bhakti Yoga is the treatment process. And how do we get rid of material desires? Of course, we can try by our own strength, but it's all happening by the mercy of the pure devotees. And when we get the mercy of the devotees, of the pure devotees, we feel happy because we become free from those anxieties and the pressure of material desires. And now, of course, how do we get the mercy of a pure devotee, right? And it's very interesting. It's mentioned unless one accepts the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is free from all material contamination, one cannot enter into the devotional service of the Lord. So for us it's very clear that Srila Prabhupada, right, is the classical pure devotee. Never done any sinful activity throughout his entire lifespan, right? Like one time he was very sick and there was a danger that he will die. And the doctor came and he said, the only cure for this disease is chicken broth. And Gormohan De, Prabhupada's father, said, we are Vaishnavas, we don't do these things, so we don't take that. And the doctor said, either you give your boy, your son, chicken broth, or he will die. You choose. And then, of course, Gormohan De said, okay, what can you do, right? But we cannot cook this. So doctor said, okay, I will cook at home, I will give him. So Gormohan De said, okay, because naturally he didn't want Abai to die. And then that doctor brought chicken broth and gave it to Abai as a medicine, and he spat it out. And he flatly refused to take it, even though he was a very small boy. And he didn't take it, and still he got cured. And so this was the only instance in his life where he was pushed to do something against the principles of bhakti, and even then he flatly refused, despite of being very, very small boy. So Prabhupada said, I never done any sinful activity throughout my entire life. Can any of us claim that? And second thing, Srila Prabhupada said, I never forgot Radha and Krishna. My whole life, I always remembered Radha and Krishna. I think for us, we can count not even minutes, but seconds in a day when we do remember Krishna, right? And we are forgetful of Krishna all the rest of the time. But for Prabhupada, he said, there was not even a second in my life when I would forget Radha and Krishna. That means even, 24 hours a day. 365 days a year, he remembered Krishna. And of course, it was not just, declaration, but Prabhupada showed immense power by converting the entire Western world, giving Krishna consciousness, even though Krishna consciousness at the time was totally against everything Western world believed in. And Prabhupada single-handedly managed to stop this tide of sinful activities and reverse the flow of history. That's like unbelievable, globally. And so, for us there is no doubt that Srila Prabhupada is the pure devotee. So how do we get the dust of his feet? Of course, sometimes devotees are fortunate enough, they have like Prabhupada shoes, and they can get some dust from there. I have a piece of carpet from Bhaktivedanta manor Srila Prabhupada was walking on, so that also has some dust from his feet. So we can get dust from Prabhupada's feet in this way. But is this the only way how to get the dust of Prabhupada's feet? how to accept the dust of the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. So what is the other and deeper meaning of the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee? Is there any other meaning of the dust?
Follow the instructions.
Yes, that's there. Any other meaning? Yeah. Follow the instruction would be to follow the feet. Reading his books. Okay, I'll help you to understand that we talk about the dust of Krishna's feet, right? And there is a prayer that Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddhau kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya. Right? O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please kindly pick me up from this ocean and make me the speck of dust at your lotus feet. Right? So, what does it mean, the dust of Krishna's lotus feet? What the dust of Krishna's lotus feet consists of? Yes, Krishna's devotees. And now, and you can see, like if you look at the altar, whom do you see at Krishna's feet? Okay, that, of course, that's very clear if you look at Gaur Nitai's altar. Who is at the feet of Gaur Nitai? Parampara, right? So, pure Vaishnavas are always at the feet of the Lord. And so, taking the same analogy further, who is at the feet of pure devotees? Who is at the feet of pure devotees? Huh? Yes, other devotees, right? Their followers, their disciples. So we can understand that accepting the dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees means to serve all devotees. And that's why Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, very important thing, there is a song which is in the Sharanagati prayers, and it says, Shuddha Bhakata Charanarenu Bhajana Anukula Bhakata Seva Paramasiddhi Premalati Karamula. So it says that the dust of the feet of pure devotee, Shuddha Bhakta, is making your worship of the Lord, bhajan, anukul, very auspicious. But then Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, Bhakata Seva, serving the devotees, Paramasiddhi, gives one topmost perfection, and Prema Latikara Mula. It is the very root of Prema Lata, of the creeper of love of Krishna. So if you want to water the roots of Prema Lata or Bhakti Lata, what do? Serve Vaishnavas. And you can see how it works. How many of you had experience when you served Vaishnavas, you felt very, very happy, and you never felt anxious, and you never felt You never, noticed any material desires at all. Anyone had this experience? Yeah. Actually, this is the greatest source of ecstasy if you serve the devotees, right? All the devotees. Because if you try to serve pure devotee only, right? And there are people like that, unfortunately, in our society also, who say that I will be serving only pure devotee. And all other devotees, they are not pure enough, because I am such a great devotee myself, right? Only pure devotees are deserving my service. And other devotees, unfortunately, this is how they think. And other devotees, they are below my dignity level, right? But what kind of mentality is this? It is pride, right? And pride is the first and foremost demoniac quality. If you look at chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, what is the first quality of a demon mentioned there? Dambha. What is Dambha? Pride, yes. And what is the first quality of a devotee? Humility, yeah. So, very simple. If I develop pride, even pride of my bhakti, my devotion, whatever, it's really demoniac quality. And if I develop humility, and how do I develop humility? By understanding what's my position. There is one powerful prayer by Vritrasura, who was a demon, but he only had demoniac body, but his consciousness was pure Krishna consciousness. And that's, of course, coming a little later in the 6th canto, but Vritrasura says, Aham haritava padaikamulam daso nadaso bhavitasmi buddhya manasmarita supater gunamste grinitava karma karodukaya. He says, Oh my dear Lord, when will I finally attain the shelter of your lotus feet? And dasa anudasa bhavitasmi bhuya. When will I finally become the servant of your servants? And the same thing Lord Chaitanya says also, right? Jiver gopi bhartuh padakamalayur dasa dasa anudasa, right? I am the most insignificant servant of all the servants of the Supreme Lord. So servant of the servant of the servant, that's actually the position of perfection in bhakti. That's why at one point I thought that the lower you go, the higher you get in bhakti, right? And so if we just meditate on this one point, the lower we go, the higher we get. Then, it's like unobstructed advancement in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed 100%, right? Like the lowest point, you just pay dandavats, right? And then from that you get the highest attainment. And so, yes, it is very important to become servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, because this is the highest perfection in devotional service. And then from there, Vritrasura says, manasmarita supatergunamsta. Then my mind will be actually able to think of your wonderful qualities. And grinita vak, that my speech will be used in glorifying you, and karma karodukaya, that I will be able to engage my activities in your service. So that's the way how to engage body, mind, and words in Krishna consciousness. By the mercy of the devotees we serve. And it's very powerful because the more devotees we serve, the more blessings we get for our advancement in Krishna consciousness. So many times devotees like to have competitions, right? Who will learn most of the shlokas, who will chant more rounds, for example, for some special Ekadashi, right? Sometimes devotees do competition. Who will chant more rounds? I also done these competitions.
Who will eat more gulab jamuns?
Huh?
Who will eat more gulab jamuns?
Yeah, eat more gulab jamuns, distribute more books. So many competitions devotees have, but I think the greatest competition is that who will be able to serve and make most of the devotees happy in Krishna consciousness. How many of you would like to take part in this competition? Okay. Yeah, this is the way to achieve full perfection in Krishna consciousness. All right. So, anyone has any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions?
How about giving your dust? How about giving your dust, Maharaj?
How?
How about giving your dust? How about giving your dust? Look, it's your dust.
I took a shower. I don't have any. Anyone has any questions? Okay, otherwise we can stop here. All right? Yes.
You were mentioning how all the gurus are same, and you were mentioning the point of how all the gurus are same, and they are pure devotees, but you do see that there are some more expert in different fields, so especially in more expert in dealing with the disciple. So that the equality you are talking about, you can explain that. The equality of all gurus, you mentioned a point. But you see there are many differences.
Yeah, of course, there are differences. Like medical science is the same, but there are different doctors, right? There are just beginners. Like there is one joke that surgeon comes to the patient before the operation and he says, "So how do you feel?" And patient says, "I'm very nervous, doctor." And the surgeon says, "Why are you nervous?" And he says, "Well, this is my first surgery in life." And doctor says, "There is no reason to be nervous because this is also my first surgery and I'm very calm and peaceful. So you should take my example and be calm and peaceful." So we can understand that doctors are also on different levels, even though medical science is the same, but some are very expert and some are not very expert. And that's why there are so many jokes about doctors, right? One joke is that it's Russian joke, so Russian jokes tend to be very dark. So they say that the housewives, they cover their mistakes with salad dressing. The architects, they cover their mistakes with vines on the walls, right? And doctors, they cover their mistakes with earth. So there are different doctors, even though medical science is one, but it also depends, how well one studied and how expert one is. And so that's why you have different spiritual guides, also different God's representatives. And that's why we have to make sure that we have the right one. We get treatment from the right doctor. And of course, for us it's very easy, right? Because we have a perfect doctor, Srila Prabhupada. And so whoever is purely representing Srila Prabhupada for us, actually this is the qualification of a guru, transparency, right? That the more pure the devotee is, the greater is his transparency level. And transparency means that he is not trying to get between you and Krishna, but he is trying to connect you to Krishna. So that's the qualification of a guru. Because Prabhupada was like that. I mean, he had numerous qualifications, but his greatest qualification, which actually allowed him to exhibit so much power, is his total transparency. Yes?
When you have a lot of services with either outreach or prasad distribution, and in that, or doing all that services, you don't get to serve devotees as much as you would like. So then how do you, because we have to equally serve the other devotees, right, our fellow devotees, but how do we?
Yeah, whenever we have opportunity, we should try to do something for the devotee, whatever we can. Either give them some prasadam or especially 3 things are recommended in Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, Dadati Pratigrinati, Guhyamaketi Prichati, Bhunkte Bachayate Chaiva Shadviti Priti Lakshanam, that giving some gift, devotees might need something, and so if you see that, okay, devotees need something, so I can help them, so just take the opportunity, give the gift to a devotee, and Guhyama Kyati Prichati, I think this is what's really lacking. Guhyama Kyati Prichati, that listening to something in confidence. And devotees do have many problems, but they can share their problems only if they know it will stay confidential. If they have doubts, and unfortunately there are many unscrupulous people in the guise of the devotees. I cannot even say that they're real devotees. Maybe they're trying to become devotees, but this is such a bad, almost demoniac quality that if someone shared something confidentially and then you publicize it all over the internet, and this is so horrible. And so the worst thing about it, it destroys trust between the devotees, and devotees become suspicious of each other, and they close up, and they never reveal their heart to anyone. And so, and if you don't open yourself up to the devotees, then the same, whether doubts or difficulties, can destroy your bhakti. That's a very unfortunate thing. And therefore it's like one professional lady, anthropologist, she spent a lot of time studying one of our communities, and she said there are so many problems, really acute problems in the community. And the first and foremost problem she named was gossip. She said the level of gossip in the community is so high she never in her life saw this kind, and she studies different communities, and she said in Hare Krishna community, the level of gossip is just through the roof. And what is gossip? Talking ill about someone behind their back. That's gossip. And Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, of all types of prajalpa, this is the worst, the most destructive type of prajalpa. So, yeah, I think it's really lacking in our society. And of course, bhunkte bhojayate chaiva, that's very popular. Giving prasadam, taking prasadam, that's... In this, we practically achieved perfection. But in other two types of services to the devotees, we really need to work on it. Yeah? Yes, Dhruva.
In many churches, they have a confession booth. Should we start a
Well, definitely we should train devotees in confidentiality. Like when I took the professional mediation training, it was done by the devotees, but it was based on Harvard Institute course. And this was practically the first and foremost thing, like was drummed in our heads, that whoever tells you about anything, never ever tell anyone without their explicit permission, with the exception of very few things, like, someone is threatening someone's life and planning to kill someone or something, then you might, kind of say, okay, sorry, I cannot keep that confidential. But never ever, betray anyone who trusts you. And unfortunately, there are very few, not many devotees who have this understanding and who take it very cheaply. Oh, whatever I've learned, I will preach these things. So this is a very wrong understanding. Yes?
How is it that the lawyers keep the confidentiality? The customer comes to them and says, I killed this man, let's get me out of the jail. How do the lawyers keep the confidentiality of that kind of...
Well, there are certain, I'm not familiar with the lawyers' code of conduct, but there are certainly some limits in their work as well. They cannot keep certain things, they cannot keep confidential, but they warn the client that these, by law, I cannot keep that confidential. I'll have to reveal that. They're still, open about it, supposed to be. Yes.
Maharaj, on that point you're saying no matter what happens, do not share if someone reveals their heart to you. So suppose there is a situation where one devotee is going through some tough time or he is going through some habit which is not helping him in Krishna consciousness, and he shares with his friend devotee. Now the friend devotee is not a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
So if he seeks guidance from another senior devotee who is not going to publicize it, but who is going to be of some help, still he should just keep it secret, or you understand, coming from a point of if someone is going through a tough time and they reveal their heart to one person, another devotee friend, but that devotee friend may not be able to help him, he still keeps it secret, or
Well,
stick to his principle, or how should he work?
it works in such a way that if someone tells you about the difficulty, you can try to help, but if you cannot, then you can say, okay, I cannot help you here, but I think, somebody else could help you, so I want to tell to that devotee, is it okay with you? So always ask people's permission before disclosing confidential information to anyone. And if you do that without their permission, you destroy your relationship right on the spot, and you destroy their Krishna consciousness, and you destroy your Krishna consciousness also. And that's really important to be mindful of. Yes?
Maharaj, can you please explain more that point that we go more down in the more spiritually?
The more we go, the lower we go, the higher we get. The lower we go means we serve more devotees, and so by serving more devotees, we collect all their blessings, and we go further in our devotional service. Yes? Yes, William.
I was just wondering with the God brothers and God sisters of Prabhupada.
Little louder, please.
Like with the God brothers and God sisters of Prabhupada, the last orders of Bhaktivedanta Swami likes so not have a leader, but you should just cooperate, right? It was pretty much like that. But they were not able to respect those last orders. So I don't know if it was disobedience or the attempt and it was just a failure, but does that make the other God brothers, the other spiritual masters bona fide or not anymore?
Well, it depends on circumstances, because, say, hypothetically, you have 100 disciples. Of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had much more than that. He actually had 50,000 or 60,000? 60,000, right? So he had 60,000 disciples. But take the smaller scale, 100, right? And so all 100 got the instruction that you work together, and together you manage the entire organization. So now, again, hypothetically, one wants to work with others, and 99 they don't want to work with anyone. So would that one be able to work with them? No. Even though he tries, but they're not interested. So what can he do? And this is exactly what happened, Prabhupada. He wanted to work with everyone, because that was the instruction of his Guru Maharaj. But his god brothers were not interested. So he tried so hard. But then he realized, okay, there is no interest. So I will have to go on my own. So he had to be separate. He had to go separate not because he didn't try to work with them, but because they were not interested. And so, yes, he created ISKCON, and ISKCON is not a Gaudiya Math. You can say, okay, externally looks like Srila Prabhupada also didn't follow the instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, but he tried his best, and he actually passed this mood onto his disciples, and they are trying. At least, we have a group of leaders who are managing and working together. So that does not make everyone not bona fide. It depends on circumstances.
I wasn't really talking about Prabhupada, but more those who really wanted to do it their way without altering. Those would they be bona fide or not anymore?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying, that whether one is bona fide or not depends on individual circumstances. So we cannot make a blanket statement which is, one size fits all. Doesn't exist in spiritual life. It's all individual. So it depends. Basically, the qualification of the guru is very simple. How nicely one follows the instruction of his spiritual master. So the best disciple is always the best devotee and automatically guru for others. And for Prabhupada, we have no doubts that he fully dedicated his life to fulfilling the desires of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati. All right, last one.
Maharaj, you mentioned that in persons who are more towards the spiritual side, they are able to see the pastimes of the Lord. But that's the greatest of fortune to be able to see that, and they don't even desire to disregard the personal form of the Lord. So then how do they manage to see the pastimes of the Lord?
Well, we don't know the details, but apparently it is possible that someone might be on very high level of spiritual perfection and almost get into the spiritual world, but then the sad thing that what happens patanti ado nadritam yushmadangreya, that they fall again because they don't take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. All right. Okay, we said last one, but we'll make exception for Krishna. Yes.
In 8th canto we see that that Shukracharya curses Bali when he is offering the 3 steps to Vamandev. But why does he need to curse him if he is just following the rules of dharma? Because he had promised Vamandev that he'll give the land, and now he's giving. Then why does Shukracharya have to curse?
Yeah, why Shukracharya was cursing Bali Maharaj if he followed his dharma, and plus he was serving the Lord. Yeah, Shukracharya was cursing him because his personal interests were threatened. That because Shukracharya was getting his maintenance from Bali Maharaj, right? He was living off Bali Maharaj's wealth. And so, because if Bali Maharaj would fulfill the promise, he would lose everything, and automatically Shukracharya also lost everything. And this is why he was so angry and was cursing Bali Maharaj, because he was very much attached to his position and to his wealth. And so attachment leads to fear and anger. This is what Bhagavad Gita explains, and this is what's exemplified in this story. Yes? Hare Krishna Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanand.